Madden holiday is here and we will play all night. Calling sick and sound sincere, in tackles will delight. The fridge is packed with drink and meat, the taste of victory sure is sweet.
So first things first, it's gonna kind of only be NCAA football footage here because I just like playing that game more. Also, my capture thing didn't work the right way for some reason. It started only recording in like 3 or 4 minute chunks. I'm not entirely sure. I used to be able to record in 10, and so I don't know entirely what's going on here. So I had to do the whole attach an external hard drive to it and just export the game footage to that because it let me record for an hour. So you're going to see things look a little choppy early on, and then suddenly it's going to look like really fluid once we get into like the draft preview stuff and everything like that. Anyway, the NFL offseason has been pretty quiet, I'd say. Or maybe it's just kind of due to the fact that I compelled to make up for all the time I missed in 2023 with my leg. And, I did so many videos there that I thought I would be doing a lot more videos, and obviously I just really didn't. And so, I had to find reasons to do that to make up for all the thumbnails I had created. Anyway, free agency has been dominated by, well, pretty much Aaron Rodgers, and despite what the Vikings keep claiming, the fact that everyone keeps saying he's going to go to the Vikings. Yeah, I know the Steelers are an option, and, I guess maybe the Saints now to an extent as well, but, if he had signed there, he would have signed there at this point. I don't think he wants to play in Pittsburgh, and yeah, I saw his McAfee thing. Again, I think he's content to sit the year out if need be. In other QB news, Sam Darnold signed with Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson went to the New York Giants, and Daniel Jones went to the Colts. Also, the Vikings were maybe looking to sign Ryan Tannehill. I'm not entirely sure if that ever happened. At least to the best of my knowledge, that has yet to happen. Wide receiver-wise, DeAndre Hopkins went to the Ravens, Devontae Adams went to the Rams, Cooper Kupp went to the Seahawks, and Stephon Diggs went to the Patriots. Also, DK Metcalf and Deebo Samuel were traded from their teams to the Steelers and Commanders, respectively. On the defensive side of the ball, Joey Bosa was released by the Chargers and went to the Bills. Leonard Floyd went to the Seahawks. Hassan Reddick went to the Buccaneers. Cameron Bynum went to the Colts. And Darius Slay went to the Steelers. Floyd was with the 49ers. Reddick was with the Jets. Bynum was with the Vikings. And Slay was with the Eagles. We already mentioned the DK Metcalf and Deebo Samuel trades, so let's talk about a few of those. Let's talk about a few other ones. Like, say, Geno Smith going to the Raiders, Joe Thuney moving from the Chiefs to the Bears, where he'll probably be returned to offensive guard instead of offensive tackle, where he played for the Chiefs last season. Laramie Tunsil was traded from the Texans to the Commanders, and C.J. Gardner went from the Eagles to the Texans. The Eagles are making a lot of very interesting maneuvers again. One wonders if they're going to be able to reload for a repeat or not. Noteworthy retirements included Julio Jones, Tyron Smith, Jason Peters, Patrick Peterson, Sam Hubbard, Zach Martin, and Brandon Graham. Now, a lot of those players were offensive linemen, which is probably going to create a real logjam when Hall of Fame eligibility starts to come up in a few years. Now, if you're not familiar with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they tend not to put in a lot of players from the same position, at least from the same generation in the same position. Yeah, there's some noteworthy exceptions, like one year they had Brian Urlacher and Ray Lewis go in, Randy Moss and Terrell Owens kind of went in the same year, Dan Marino and Steve Young went in the same year, so yeah, there's a few noteworthy exceptions, but other than that, they don't want to seem like they're playing favorites and putting a whole bunch of players from one position in, unless, of course, there's like a sizable time differential. So, for example, we're going to put, let's see, I think they put Derek Thomas in one year, and maybe I'm thinking of something else. I'm sorry. Just a sec here. Okay, here's a better example. In 2010, running back Floyd Little and running back Emmitt Smith went into the Hall of Fame in the same year. However, Little played in the 60s and 70s, and obviously Emmitt Smith played in the 90s and 2000s. So again, different generation of player. And with that, we'll now get into the new rules for the NFL season. Yippee. Obviously, the first and big one probably is that the new kickoff is now permanently adapted And now touchbacks come out to the 35-yard line. So, again, this will hopefully inspire more returns. Overall, it's okay. I mean, again, it does seem like this new dynamic kickoff has worked in the long run. So, again, though, if you have a strong league kicker like, say, a Harrison Butker or a Justin Tucker, yeah, I know, scum people, but strong league kickers still. I'm betting they're still probably more likely to just boot the ball through the back of the end zone. Also, there's no onside kick rule change, which at this point I do think they really need to just do the 4th and 15 or the 4th and 20 or whatever it is. Just limit it down to it, make a couple tweaks here and there. Like maybe if you get the first down, you can't advance it. So, like say again, you start at the 25, you get a 4th and 15. Okay, you get the 15 yards, you get the ball at the 40. I mean, that's maybe the best you could do right there. I don't know. Also, replay assist has been expanded to cover specific penalties with objective elements. Now, to get into the technicality here, it has to be something overt, like, say, a face mask call or a helmet-to-helmet hit or something where you have to tell if a defender is actually leaning in or something of that nature. It can't be subjective, like pass interference or... I'm trying to think what the other one is that's always tends to fall... Again, I think it's more of a, if a player intended to hit a quarterback when he was sliding and stuff like that. Which, again, that's, again, because that's a judgment call that can be really hard to parse out. The interference thing in particular. I remember seeing an interview of Mike Pereira on, I believe it was the Pat McAfee show, where he sort of explained why the challenging the pass interference rule flamed out, and that was because the officials were only instructed to overturn calls if it was as egregious as the missed call in New Orleans between the Rams and Saints in that championship game. And of course, that was such a 1 in a million type of incident to not get called, that it's just too rare to warrant changing a call. Like, do you get what I mean there? It's like, that obviously doesn't happen in every game. Everything else is more like, well, maybe this could have been interference, but I can't say for certainty. You see the problem there. Likewise, this would only cover penalties that get called. So, like what happened to Sam Darnold in that game against the Rams last year, the face mask that was not called, that wouldn't happen, unfortunately, because there wasn't a penalty called on that play. So, it would only work as if they had thrown a penalty and then looked to see if the face mask had actually been grabbed. Also, first downs will now be measured digitally, which I guess you could call the Josh Allen rule after that sneak in the AFC Championship game that looked like a first down but wasn't called it. Though the chain squad will still remain in a ceremonial secondary capacity, whatever that means. And if you're thinking the tush push is going to get banned, it might, but they're not going to vote on that until May. And I guess now we have to move on to the really big one, which is that the playoff overtime rules have been expanded to the regular season. Now, the regular season overtime is still 10 minutes long, so basically, even though both teams will be guaranteed a possession, don't be surprised if you start seeing a lot of 9-minute and 30-second long drives. I mean, that's basically what they're probably going to do. Whatever team wins the toss or, gets the ball, because there'll probably be some who think they can just defer, will probably just run the clock down to as far or low as they can, then give the other team a chance only for the clock to run out. Yeah, can you tell I'm not a huge fan of this? Again, it's just, the game was going to last longer. I mean, you might as well just make it a 15-minute period if you're going to do that. And it's going to take longer and longer. This isn't good for player safety. How about this? Play defense. I know that sounds crazy. Just play defense and not let the other team march down the field and score. Then maybe you might have a shot at winning the game. Who knows? And there's some other minor changes. Basically, it's flexing the schedule, which we'll wait for the schedule announcement to get more into what that rule means. College football-wise, there really isn't much. Just a bunch of transfer portal stuff. I mean, we had the big Nico Imaliava drama. That's hard to say. So how that shook out. Now Iowa State's quarterback is in Tennessee. Likewise, the quarterback Imaliava replaced at UCLA is also at Tennessee. Tennessee still has two other quarterbacks, I believe. So Tennessee still has two other quarterbacks, I believe. So I don't know how that's going to shake out. And also, Nico Imaliava's brother Madden-NFL is transferring from Arkansas. And I just can't help but wonder, did his parents really name him after John Madden? Really? And if you start thinking that's weird, just wait a few years when we start getting a bunch of young ladies named Khaleesi graduating high school. In other news, Stanford and Kent State fired their coaches. I mean, neither of those teams were very good, but it's surprisingly late in the game to do that. Although now with the college GM thing being in place, maybe that's going to happen a bit more often. Who knows? Again, you don't generally do it because you're trying to appease recruits, or you don't want to shake everything up like that. Now you've got a bunch of players who are stuck there who might not be able to play for the replacement. But again, who really knows how that's going to play out? Also, they announced some changes with the college football playoff, but it's not like an expansion or anything. It's just going to be the games are being played at a little bit different time. They're not going to overlap so much with NFL games. I think they're trying to avoid Saturday games, is what I'm trying to think. There's going to be 3 quarterfinal games on New Year's Day now. The Rose Bowl will be starting a tiny bit earlier. Again, that news kind of just broke while I was recording this, so I don't know everything exactly at this moment. Okay, come back after the break and we'll talk about the NFL draft.
Introducing the new Bronze Super Volume. As it dries your hair, it adds volume. Instant volume for straight hairstyles. The new Super Volume from Braun.
I was flying to Europe at the end of the week on business, and I had a lot on my mind. I guess I got careless. I left my briefcase in a cab with all my credit cards in it.
When he called the Citibank 800 number, he was upset. He needed a new Citibank Visa before he left.
I had it the next day. My Citibank Visa was the only card I took with me. And I found out it was the only card I needed.
Not just Visa, Citibank Visa.
It's more than you. It is more than me. No matter what we are a family.
Hope Rehabilitation Services provides work training, job placement, professional counseling, day activity, and other services to thousands of children, adults, and seniors with disabilities while providing valuable service to industry.
Okay, so again, we're talking about the NFL draft, and we're probably going to be focused mainly on the first round. I mean, it's pretty much predictable. I mean, for the most part, I don't know exactly where everyone's going to go, but it's pretty sure that it's known where or who, if that made any sense. Now, granted, again, I think this offseason has just been kind of down. I mean, we're not in a quarterback deep draft, so again, it's kind of hard to hype it up. We're not like last year where we had so many quarterbacks and prospects to talk about. So, and I know I am overly focused on the quarterback position, but everyone's kind of overly focused on the quarterback position. So that's kind of why that happens. Like, it's obviously a given that Cam Ward is going number 1 to the Tennessee Titans. So there's not really too much more to say there. And then number 2 and number 3, it's going to be either Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter or Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. But that's probably the next order right there. The next highest ranked QB prospect is Shedeur Sanders. However, he's been falling down the draft. Now, he's either going to fall to the Saints at number 9, or he's probably going to fall all the way to the Steelers at 21 unless someone trades up, like, say, the Steelers. But, again, that's probably the next quarterback to go. And then there's interesting prospects like, say, Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State. Some people have him going to the Raiders. Some people have him going a little bit before that. Not entirely sure, but it's definitely, he's probably very high on the Raiders draft board, much to the chagrin of Tub Frog, who keeps insisting that his team is taking a quarterback. The Kansas City Chiefs are in desperate need of offensive line help, so I expect them to probably trade up, maybe with the Vikings, who I expect to probably trade down, as they're probably going to need some draft capital, as they don't really have much going on in this draft. They have a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and then a bunch of compensatories, so they don't really have too much to get through there. So like I said, they might try to trade and get some draft capital. And again, it seems like the Chiefs might be an ideal candidate, as they need offensive line help. They're probably aiming to get Zabel, the offensive tackle from NDSU. He's, I believe, the highest ranked line. If he's not the highest ranked lineman, he's like second highest. So they're probably aiming to get him. I don't know if that necessarily means they will. As for the Vikings, they probably need either defensive line help or, again, secondary help, given that they've lost a few of their defensive backs in free agency. Now, even though their first-round picks are not necessarily going to be on quarterbacks, I do expect the Browns and Giants to pick up quarterbacks. Probably Tyler Shuck from Louisville and Jalen Milroe from Alabama. I mean, Jackson Dart, if Shedeur goes to the Saints, and Dart is definitely probably going to the Steelers. So, yeah, definitely in the second round. Again, though, it looks like the Giants are aiming to try to trade back into the first. So, again, depending on who they contact, that could be a little bit higher than usual, but I'm still not entirely sure. That being said, I think the team that is going to actually come out looking really good in this draft is the Chicago Bears. I mean, they're pretty much drafting for need at this point. They've already filled up a lot of their holes in their offensive line. They probably need, I don't know if they need another wide receiver necessarily. They're probably going to look a little bit for some running back help, as they've been kind of spinning the wheels there. But other than that, they could be the team that really does fill up a lot of their positions, kind of like how the Lions do in a lot of their drafts. And of course, given their history, you have to look at the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. They seem to know what they're doing. Again, if most of their team needs are met, they can draft a lot of good players that they can develop over time and fill in when they need to start cutting some of their better players. And of course, like I said before too, the Lions tend to have good drafts. The Packers have good drafts. The Ravens usually have pretty good drafts. And then the Bengals, they can sometimes have very sneaky good drafts that people I don't think take into account a lot of these times. Obviously when they hit on a Jamar Chase, that's a big deal, but they also get a Jesse Bates type who's a really good contributor for them. Yeah, I know Bates is on the Falcons now, but still, he was a good player for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then obviously there are the teams that really need a good draft. The Titans, the Giants, and the Steelers. You also have the Raiders and Jets, who could also prove to be interesting. However, I do believe since both those teams are in a rebuild, they're trying to build more for the long haul. But you look at the Titans, they've had Will Levis at quarterback and not exactly much else. They have a coach in the second year who didn't do very well his first year after they fired a pretty good coach in Mike Vrabel. So yeah, they obviously need to hit pretty big here. The Giants have been floundering the last 2 years. They finally got rid of Daniel Jones. They need to get in a quarterback. Russell Wilson is not a permanent solution. He can be a good stopgap, but they need to get someone they can build for the long haul in. And again, Brian Daboll's kind of hanging by a thread at this point. And again, the Steelers, they're another team that they spin the tires on their offense. They play really well, and then they don't. And now you're looking at some of their best defenders, like TJ Watt, looking for trades because I think they're getting a little tired of, let's just run the ball and grind our defense up. And then at the end of the season, when we really need them, they're not there anymore. So yeah, they cannot be settling for just the wild card round. They need to start making some moves. They really need to open up their offense. Yes, they traded for DK Metcalf, but none of that's going to matter if you're still running the ball into the line 90% of the game. Now, like I said, I wish I could get more into some of the later round picks, but like I said, I just haven't had the urge to really follow everything as fervently as I did last year. Again, probably for a lot of reasons. Again, this isn't a hugely deep draft, so there really hasn't been that kind of hype around it, and the off-season's been kind of blah, so it's been really hard to just work into everything. And yeah, like I said before last year too, I was trying to make up for lost time. And again, this isn't a deep quarterback class, which tends to mean, the draft itself isn't usually deep, but there still can be good players in there. And of course, there are good players and of course, there are good players that are lurking just beneath the surface. They aren't going to go in the third round. They're going to go day 3. They'll still be really good players and can still pay things off for their team. So, yeah, that's about the best summary I can give you for the draft right now. So, we'll wrap things up after the break.
The American Gladiator is brought to you in part by Nintendo, makers of the Nintendo Entertainment System and the world's most exciting library of great games. Now you're playing with power.
Prepare thyself well, Dragon Warrior. Thy most challenging quest ever awaits. Go with speed, but go with patience. Seek out an arsenal, a dragon scale, a torch, and magic herbs. Use wisdom and cunning to choose thy commands, for the Dragon Lord is a fierce rival. Horrible and treacherous minions all guard the evil one's island castle. Art thou ready, young one?
Yes, King Lord.
And so begins a new epic, Dragon Warrior.
Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
Hey, what do you got? Nerf Turbo Football. Yeah, what's it do? Go long. Real long.
Nice toss. Nerf Turbo Football. You don't throw it, you launch it.
The New York Times calls Perfect Strangers in head of the class this season's brightest hour.
How do we achieve physical contact?
Begging.
And head of the class, the monster hit of the season.
This incredible thing happened at my Calculus Club Awards banquet.
Don't tell me. You all broke your glasses and there wasn't enough tape to go around.
Head of the class together with Perfect Strangers Wednesday.
Okay, so obviously the next video is going to be the NFL Draft Recap and Review. That'll be a little more intense. Obviously, we'll be going through round by round. Maybe pick by pick, I'm not entirely sure. We'll definitely have to probably keep track of a lot of trades because there's probably going to be a lot of trades happening. And of course, that'll provide more opportunity for old-timey commercials, which I know you all like. After that, we'll finally have the random trade review on the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl Volume 1. I've got it read, I've got it early scripting stages, so hopefully I can get that done. It's not a lot to get through, thankfully, but there's still going to be, again, I'm just needing time to get this stuff done. That's the main problem there. And after that, probably some more wrestling of some sort. Not so much the recap and review stuff, the video game footage you see. I'm not entirely sure when that's going to be up. It still might be for another couple weeks. It's been kind of tiring. I've had to do a lot of stuff, so yeah, that's just kind of what happens sometimes, you know. Alright, see you all next time. Hey guys, remember you can help support my channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. Also, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can be notified about further videos.